Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Back to School Tips and Tricks webinar. We just wanted to have a little tips and things that you can do based on the Google Infused Classroom, but things that we've discovered since we've been back in the classroom. And so thank you for joining us. I'm Holly Clark. I'm going to let Tanya introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Very excited to be able to share some of the ideas that we've been gathering and curating and thinking about it from our own classrooms with you this evening. So we have a fun hour ahead of us. And Holly, do you want to just kind of move into the slides?
Yeah. So we've already introduced ourselves, and I'm actually going to go over here and start the presentation. And I feel like I might need to shut my door. Give me 1 second. And Tanya, if you want to say anything.
Sure. So if you don't know who we are, I'm Tanya Averith. I currently live in South Florida, and I am a Director of Educational Technology at Grandview Preparatory School in Boca Raton. I formerly lived in Montreal, Canada, and worked at the Lesser B. Pearson School Board as a lead educational technology teacher. So I've moved over to South Florida in the last 3 years, and I've been enjoying the beautiful January weather, and not so much Irma, but so that's been my shift over. We'd love for you this evening to join our back channel. We've created a special hashtag that we hope that you'll continue using, and the hashtag is InfusedClass. And I have a tweet deck, a whole column set up so that I can have a back channel conversation with you this evening. So if you're watching, please join us on the back channel and leave a bit of comments about who you are and what you would like to hopefully, if there's any special questions that you have for this evening about our book, or just in general of things that you might want us to share. And also, with keeping up with the Google Infused Classroom, we're going to be giving away a book this evening to one of our lucky, or maybe two of our lucky tweeters. And so if you participate in the back channel, we will feature at the end an outstanding tweet, and you will win a book. So right now the odds are in your favor. So Holly, would you like to to talk a little bit about what we'll be speaking about this evening?
Sure, thanks, Tanya. And you have someone from Montreal on the chat, so that's they miss you, which I'm sure you miss them in the summer. Anyway, so we're going to start with what is student voice, and we'd like to have you join us on that, and I'm going to walk you through that. Then we're going to talk about what the student voice classroom looks like. Then we're going to look at the tips and tricks, really looking at how we can do that with Socrative, talk and comment, and then really some new ideas around SeeSaw and layering and doing some really fun things with SeeSaw that may or may not be happening. So we're just going to leave you with about 3 of those tips and tricks, and then we'll maybe have some people share if it's possible, and we're really looking forward to it. And I'm mostly looking forward to the next thing, which is if you could join us at bit.ly student voice 924. If you go there, there is a Padlet set up. I'm actually going there in another computer right now as well. And on that Padlet, we just want to hear what you think student voice is. I've been doing a lot of research for, we're going to be writing a book about student voice, and I've been looking around and seeing what the definition, what the kind of standard definition is. And we're finding out that a lot of people have a lot of different ideas about what student voice is. I kind of starting to formulate the 3 things we think it is, but we'd love to hear from you. So if you could go there, it'll take you to the Padlet. And I'm actually going to come out of here and go to this and get on there too. So Tanya, I can't see the thing. Are you able to see me going over to Padlet right now?
Yes, Holly, you are in Padlet right now. And I'm sort of manning either the tweet deck and looking at the back channel from YouTube. I'm just going to remind people, we'd love to move the conversation onto Twitter if possible. So if you move over to Twitter, I'll be managing it there as well. So go ahead.
Well, I'm just watching all of these great people come on already, and all you have to do is just double tap on the Padlet once you get there, and it'll open a box on the upper right hand corner is usually where it goes, or sorry, left hand corner, and then that will be the box that you can write your definition, and you don't have to put your name. You can if you want, but so this is kind of what this Padlet is showing us, what I've been seeing, that a lot of people say it's about advocating for your learning, which it is, that some people say it's about giving kids a voice in how they get engaged with the content. And so I love seeing what people think around it. And all of these answers are right. I'm just, I'm hoping that the definition that we've kind of come up with is something, we'll see what you think about it. I love the hearing from all students. That's really, really important. I saw that one come up, offering choice and interest, giving students choice. So voice and choice, let's see what we think about that. Maybe they're different, maybe they're the same, I'm not sure. So I'm loving all of these answers. I know a lot of people are probably going to watch this after because it's right in the middle of dinner time on a Sunday. But for those of you who are here, this is really good information. So I see students' voice in something that is evidence of engagement, collaboration, communication, among others. So really good stuff. Hearing from all students, when students are able to have a voice choice in what they learn, where they learn, how they learn, and also have the opportunity to share what they learn. Yeah, so I kind of agree with that one. I'm going to go over to this one. And based on the research, and we're still kind of flushing through this, but I've been doing a lot of research around this idea of student voice. And so I kind of gathered it into 3 things, and that is the hearing from all students, what we have on there, and also the articulation and hearing from them of their ideas and of their thinking. So I know I always give this example that when I first started teaching in 1996, I would call on like students and they would raise their hand, and the first 5 kids I heard from, I was like, oh, they must have it. And not realizing that, of course, the students who rose their hand are the ones who knew the answer, or maybe just wanted to talk. And maybe not all of them knew the stuff I needed them to know. So it's hearing from all of them. And then the next one we put is kind of understanding of how you learn and deciding what you may want to explore or learn. So that's having a voice in what it is you're going to learn. So for example, when I was teaching you history, when I was teaching world history, and we would study Islam, we would ask a bunch of questions around Islam and Muslim and the Muslim religion. And then the kids would go from there and decide what it is that they wanted to learn. I'd give them the things that they needed, but they'd have an understanding of what kind of got their curiosity. And then finally, demonstrating what you've learned in a way that interests you and really taps into your strengths. So we're kind of thinking about this in terms of the 3 components of student voice. If you have anything to say about that, I would love to hear it either on Twitter or back at the Padlet. Really interested to see if that meets your definition. But this is what we're working with right now, and what we're going to be looking for in the tips and tricks, and how we can do this with SeeSaw and these other apps that we're going to look at in a second. So one of the things that's really important is this idea of depth of knowledge. So the first one that we talked about was hearing from all students. And sometimes and this happens in the classroom that I work in, sometimes I only have time to get to DOK 1 or 2. Like I quickly ask them to tell me what happened in a story, and they don't have time to really design or connect or synthesize or apply concepts. But I want to be cognizant of getting to all the different levels at some point. So I've got to design my instruction to ask questions and hear from my students who can get to all these levels. But it is okay. I'm here to tell you, like, I know you know it already, but it's okay just to be in DOK 1. That's fine. I try my hardest to get to at least DOK 2, but I can't always do it. I just had I just did a flip grid with kids on Wonder on Friday, and I watched them, and oh my gosh, we went down to DOK. Like they said exactly what Miss Clark wanted them to say, because we had been talking and discussing it, and I was like so deflated that like Flipgrid had been going so well. And here we were back at level 1, them telling me certain words. They all had the same words. So of course they heard me speaking about it and just parroted back what I said. And I think I'm doing all this great teaching all the time. And then they come back and I go, oh, I'm not really living, like, I can't always live in this perfect world. Sometimes my students dish at me DOK1. So it's that's what we're going to kind of look at today, is how can we use these tools to maybe up the game a little bit. And remember, some kids are just like, sometimes you think you're going to get there and you don't. But we always base everything that we do around this learning framework of, we want to use devices. We want to use everything that we're doing to do these 3 things: make student thinking visible, give every student voice. And when we're talking about voice here, we're talking about hearing from all the students and allowing them to share their work. And these are some of the things we're going to look at today. We look at all the time, but we're going to go a little more in depth because some of you have been to some of our webinars. So we want to make it a little more tips and tricks. But the sharing of the work is the really important part, because when kids answer questions and maybe they put it on a Flipgrid, and if you don't know what a Flipgrid is, say you happen to be in this webinar and you haven't heard of it, you got to look it up. We'll be doing a webinar in October on Flipgrid, and we have some amazing, amazing examples to share. We're really excited about that. And Tanya will tell you the date later, but it's when they share their work and they hear the other kid talk and then they go listen, sometimes they go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or, that's something I should have remembered to say. And that happens to me. And like, I always make it a little tip in my life. I never want to go first. I want to hear other people go so I can kind of formulate how I'm going to answer something. And the other day I went first and I went, oh man, I forgot. I hate going first, because I want to learn from other people first before I share out. And so that's the beauty of this sharing work that kids are doing. Tanya, do you have anything to say before I move on to the next slide?
Well, I'm just in the back channel right now answering questions and looking at these great tweets. And I'm hearing from some of our fabulous participants who are just talking a little bit more about DOK levels and looking at it from the lower, from the earlier grades in primary, that, you know, when they're younger, yeah, they absolutely will live in DOK1 and DOK2. And so I was just speaking about, well, when we look at our questioning and the types of questioning that we can get deeper in over a longer period of time, we can really move even our littles into a deeper understanding of concepts and that they're learning. So yeah, so no, go ahead. You're doing a great job, Holly.
Thanks. Yeah, and the classroom that I'm talking about is a 5th grade classroom. Pretty smart kids. And they've been using technology since they were kindergartners. And sometimes we have to live in DOK1, especially when we're talking about those 1st and 2nd graders. You're going to start there. But they absolutely, after a while, with the right scaffolding, can get to DOK4. And it's really fun to watch them get there. So I'm glad you guys are having that back.
Well, one more thing. Elise, my friend Elise from Montreal. Hi, Elise. She also had a question, which is, I think, really important to note. She said, very interested in talking about introverts and having them share their voices in a safe and meaningful environment. I think that's a brilliant comment. Holly, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, can you repeat it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. She said that she's very interested in talking about introverts.
Yeah.
And having them share their voices in a safe and meaningful environment.
So I recently, maybe a year ago, read a book called Quiet. And it talks about the introverted kid and the extroverted kid. And so I really started being more thoughtful about the way I designed my instruction to meet those kids' needs who were a little bit more introverted. And I really found with this next tool, as a matter of fact, it just goes with that question, with Socrative, it was really, really good for those kids because it gave them a moment to think about their answer, and it also gives them, and you're going to see this, we're going to try it here in a second, it gives them a space where their name's not attached to it. You can ask for names, but in our particular case, I don't show, or in my case, I don't show their names unless I need to. And so they feel a little more safe. So Socrative gives them a place that they can type in their answer. They're not having to say it in front of everyone or record themselves on Flipgrid. And it gives it a place where it's safe. And so this is why I sometimes and often come back to Socrative, even when I'm super in love with things like Flipgrid, where they're doing the video responses. I like there to be this slow, safe spot for them. So let's all go over to Socrative. If you'll go to Socrative.com and you'll enter as a student and you'll go to the room Holly 1234. So again, just go to Socrative.com. I can see 5, 6 of you are there, 7. So you're getting there. I'm actually going to ask a question, but I want to come back over here and I want you to see what's happening from my point of view. So let me go into Socrative and I'm going to go into the teacher. And Tanya, I just want to make sure you can see me going in to Socrative.
Yes, I can see you going into Socrative. And as people are logging on, I just want to shout out to Tracy. Tracy is one of our participants who's on our chat. And she actually, Tracy Dover Spike, she just joined Twitter just now. So bravo, Tracy, for taking the leap to join Twitter and participate on the
webinar. She joins Twitter. She probably sees this and is like, whoa, that's awesome.
That's amazing. I'm so impressed.
She might be joining to be on the back channel. That's cool. Anyway,
so yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm in the teacher dashboard right now, and I'm going to go into this short answer. And I just want to say something really quickly about Socrative. You can do quizzes, you can do space races and exit tickets, but we're not going to talk about that right now because we're doing tips and tricks, things you can use in your classroom tomorrow. All you have to do is sign up for Socrative, and once you do, you'll get eventually, after you put in all of your information, to this dashboard. And when I go into quick question, it's automatic. I don't have to like plan ahead of time. I don't have to do my lesson plans and come up with the questions and make them multiple choice, which, if you know anything about Tanya and I, we're not really into multiple choice questions. We don't believe in them pedagogically. So we try to stay away from them as much as we can. We can't always do that because sometimes you just are forced. But this one allows me to go in and do a short answer. So on my end, I'm going to put in a question. So my question is, what did you think about the definition we gave? Oh, I'm going to have to change it, of student voice. So I'm going to have a chance to hear from all of you in a minute. And I'm going to push this out. I press start. I can require student names by putting this on, but I'm not going to in this case, but I could. And this pushes out to you on your screen the question. And as an introvert, you can sit quietly. You can think about this. And then when you're ready, you can type your answer. You don't have to talk in front of everyone. You don't have to have your name attached to it. So it's a really safe environment where I can hear from all kids. And my extroverts are the ones who are going to answer first and are like, that's my answer. Do you see it up there on the board? You know, those are going to be those kids. And that's why I really love Socrative. It gives me the ability to hear from all of my students. It gives me the ability to let them think for a second. So some of you might need to go back and look at what I'm going to go over here and go back. And you can see that what I was asking for is, what did you think about this definition of hearing from all kids, them understanding who they are as learners and deciding what they want to learn, and then demonstrating what they've learned in a way that interests them. And so that definition of student voice is what we're kind of asking about. And it works for me. And so right now I'm getting to hear from all of you. And I'm getting to do it in a way that's not putting you on the spot. We don't even know who this person is. It allows you to see other people's responses. So I'm not just talking to you. I remember when I was a student, my teacher would have me fill out a piece of paper and turn it upside down and pass it up. And it was like this private pact between me and the teacher. In 2017, it doesn't have to be like that. You can hear from all of the kids and they can hear from each other. They can learn from each other. And in this way, they can do it in a safe environment. What I love, and if you've ever taken any like Google Summit session from me, or have ever seen me speak, you're gonna know what I'm gonna do next, because I'm obsessed with what I get to do next. And I'll show it to you, but I want to point out something. In the upper right-hand corner, there are a bunch of like people, and there's an 18 above it. That means there's 18 people in the room. And then next to the show names, it says there are 14 answers. So that means I'm still waiting for 4 people to either finish their answer or maybe come up with what they think. And in a normal situation, I'd probably try my hardest to wait for 18 and 18 to kind of match up, but I can't right now because we've got some stuff to show you. So this is the thing I love. Not only am I hearing from you, but I can do this thing called start a vote. And when I do that, it's going to push out onto your screen all of the answers. And so now I can say to you, all right, vote on the one that you agree with that's not your own. So I want you to take a second, and I want you to vote on one that you like, an answer that you liked. And here's another time where the introvert is getting to like, be quiet, just look at answers, not have to be talking. And the extrovert's like looking for their answer, seeing if anyone had voted for it, that kind of thing. So I'm going to wait a second and see if any of you vote, because no one's voted yet. I'm hoping you have this on your screen. It's kind of hard on a video. Oh, there's one person. Thank you. Oh, thanks. I know it takes a second to also read them, and I'm, of course, being like a normal teacher and talking the whole time. But so now you're getting a chance to learn from everybody. And so it's this quiet time of sort of reflecting on what you wrote, what other people wrote. And it's a really, really powerful experience of hearing from all kids, but also giving respect to both the extrovert and introvert in your classroom. I've had kids that sometimes it takes them like 5 minutes and we've already gone through the activity, but later when I go and look at the answers, theirs is there and I can hear from them in that way. I try to be really cognizant of not hurrying them too much, but we all know how that works in the classroom. Some kids can take like a half an hour answering a simple question. Anyway, this is why I love Socrative. I like to show this because it's something you can use in your classroom tomorrow. And if you want, we can dump later when Tanya's talking, I'll dump into the end of these slides. And I don't think we shared these slides, Tanya. We can do that later too. We can dump in a tutorial, how to sign up for Socrative and how to use it in your classroom tomorrow. Because all you have to do is sign up, ask one of these quick questions, and you're on your way. And this is really powerful learning in 2017. Another thing I really like about it is often people don't have devices in their classroom, but their students have phones. And this is what kids should be using phones for. They should just grab them out of their pocket and answer questions in class. The fact that we're not using them in this way is really, it hurts me a bit that we are not respecting the mobile technology that sits in their pockets. So anyway, I hope this will be something that you'll consider. We will throw in that tutorial, but this is a really quick something you can use in your classroom tomorrow. And Tanya and I are really, really, we feel strongly that we want to give you stuff you can use tomorrow, something quick. So I'm going to go back quickly to the webinar. I'm sorry, we're at the webinar. The slides. Go ahead.
Yeah, some questions. And we have a question from Tyson, and she said, student data question.
Yeah.
Do you know where data is stored? And this is for Socrative. Are there school districts in Canada using Socrative? Thanks.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
Yes, there are school districts in Canada using it, but what happens is Socrative attaches to your Google account. It doesn't have to. You can download the report just using Excel if you're on a Microsoft platform. If you happen to be using Google Apps for Education, it does and can, on your request, store inside of your Google Drive. And then you can go get all the kids' reports there. Or you can just, on Socrative itself, if I go back, I'm going to finish and you're going to see, I can get a report like this. I can download one, and I don't have Excel on this computer because I'm not a Microsoft person, but if I were, and it would probably actually open in numbers, I would think, because I'm seeing numbers down there, but I can do that. I can email it to myself, or I can have it in my Google Drive. Now, Socrative, once it's housing it on a cloud somewhere, so because I can go back into it. So the data question there is their stuff, they have it COPA compliant, but the information is out there. However, if you don't attach student names to it, and there's a problem with data like that in your school district, just don't ask for the kids' names. It's not going to give you really rich information about their learning, but that's happening. Now, I know in Canada, at first, people were really not using Google Apps because the data wasn't stored in Canada, but it is now. And so Google Apps for Education is being used by very, very many school districts in Canada.
Well, they've arranged agreements with ministries in different provinces. Specifically, the province of Ontario was really forward-thinking and managed to get that done fairly quickly. That's why they've been so advanced and have so many of their school districts up and running. So yeah, no, it's great.
In BC, Alberta, Quebec. Anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously. Tanya's the Canadian, but I do get there quite a bit, so much that I say progress now instead of progress. Any other questions?
No, so far so good.
Okay, so that's Socrative. The next thing that I want to show you that's really, now this is something you're going to have to use. Oh, all of a sudden I opened, sorry, I don't know, I accidentally opened FaceTime. Anyway, this one you will need Google Docs for, but it's a game changer. So I'm not sure how many of you out there are using Google Docs. Maybe you can tell Tanya in the back channel. But let's take, for example, I'm going to go to this Google Doc, which you can do as well. We can all be on it if you click on it. It's going to take you to something that we use in a classroom, my classroom, a story called 11 by Sandra Cisneros. Now, we're talking about student voice. Everyone knows pretty much that you can add a comment. So let's just say I want to go into this document and I'm going to go insert a comment, and I could say something like, let's pretend that my student wrote this story. I might say, this is a great sentence or something. I'm not doing anything major here, but I can do comment, and I can textually talk back and forth with my students, which is great. But there's something better, and there's what's called a Chrome extension, and a Chrome extension is a little app that lives to the right of your Google Omnibox, which is what we used to call the URL or the address bar. And I have a bunch right here. You can see them here. I have my Gmail, I have Bitly, I have a thing that finds colors, I have Screencastify. Anyway, there's a new Chrome extension called, not new, but Talk and Comment. And Talk and Comment allows me to do something very special inside of a Google Doc to really get at student voice. And once I install this, and so to install something, just in case you don't know, you go to the Chrome Web Store and you type in Chrome Web Store, or you can go there. There's several ways to get there. This is how I get there. And I do a search. It takes me to Chrome Web Store. And then I can type in the word Talk and Comment, and it's going to take me to this extension. As you can see, I already have it up, but you could add it to Chrome. And what's important is what it does. So once I would add it to Chrome, it comes right here. It's this little guy right here with the blue microphone. And it lives right here, and you can see it. It's this little invisible circle that I keep going over, and I'm trying to keep doing it so you can see me doing it. And once I hit it, it allows me to record. So I can record a comment for a student. I could record to my teacher what my paper is about. So I'm turning it in, here's my paper, but I'm going to tell you, teacher, here is what I'm trying to say in this paper. I was trying to prove that this birthday, or whatever it is that you've written your paper about. And when I'm done, I hit the green check button. it gives me a link, and here's the link. It says voice note to remind you. You just take the part that's not the voice note, this little link right here. I'm going to do a Command C because I'm on an Apple, and I can go over here and I can add a comment. And there's several ways you can add comments. I'm just going the old school way. I do a Command V and it puts that link there. And then when I do a return, when I actually do the comment, it turns it into a play button. And so I can hear from my kids not in text, because we do so much text in school, but we want kids to actually articulate their learning. And you articulate best orally first, and then you want to go into writing, or just stay in the oral zone. But now I have a play button and it's going to play it.
Allows me to record. So I can record
so you can hear those things that I was saying
for a student. I could record to my teacher what my paper is about. So I'm turning it in. Here's my paper. But I'm going to tell you.
Anyway, so that is a really easy tip and trick you can use in your classroom tomorrow to have kids tell you why they wrote a paper, or have them tell you, what do you think this simile means? So if I go back, I'm going to open up that document again. If I go back, if you know anything about this story, 11 by Sandra Cisneros, it's all about this girl's birthday. It's her 11th birthday, and she goes to school, and she's tormented by these people who think this red sweater is hers. Anyway, it has a ton of similes. And so she says things like, I don't see if I'm not seeing a simile in here right now because I'm sitting here talking to you and being recorded. But I could, let's say, pretend that this is a simile. Oh, it is. Good for me. I could have the kids use talk and comment to say, so right now when she's talking about the years rattling inside of a Band-Aid box like pennies, that's a simile that is meaning that she has a lot of years and they're all in there, just whatever. I can't think of that. I'm not good on my feet with these kinds of things. But anyway, so you can see that I could tell my teacher what I think about that simile. I can put that note in by just going back in, grabbing that link, going to comment. I'm just going to do it one more time, and putting in the comment. And now I can have my child articulate to me. And one of the really important things about this, especially for the littles and the high school kids, is that you are best at reading and writing when you are good orally. You have to establish those oral literacy skills first, and then you will become a good reader or writer. And often in school, we take out the oral part because it's like, shh, be quiet. We don't want you talking. And really, kids are going to spend 98% of their life talking and about 2% writing. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll spend 5% reading, but they'll spend a majority of it talking. And that's the kind of literacy we really need to work on as well, because there's nothing like being articulate. Right now, when I couldn't do this quickly on my feet, this simile thing, it would have been better if I had been a little more articulate. And I blame my teachers. No, I'm kidding. I don't. But getting at that oral literacy is really important. So we're going to go back. Are there any questions, Tanya?
This is so much fun in the background.
It's done. I'm going to have to go in it.
I'm having so much fun with everybody back here. So for those of you watching, if you are trying to access the doc, I made a bit.ly, Holly, because people were trying to get on. So I did it in the back end. So it was a bit.ly/GIC webinar sept 24. And so I put it in the chat. If it's not working in the chat, it's because I can't lay down the link without a space. It won't allow me. So you just need to put it all together, the one that I've been putting in the chat. So go ahead, my dear.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to give a couple examples. So you got me interested, and I went into the chat and I looked at Tracy, who's saying that, like, maybe she'd love to have a basic thing that some of these don't work, maybe where they are, because they're just getting started with GAIF. And you're going to find out, Tracy, that as you start to use Google Docs, one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to use comments. It's really, really powerful. And commenting with kids back and forth. And actually using this talk and comment Chrome extension is, and we also have a video we can throw in there as well. It's a really simple way to make those comments come alive and have more information in them, really, because you're hearing from the kids. So even if you just said this year, I'm going to work in Google Docs with my students and just add that auditory component using that Chrome extension, you'd be doing great stuff as you start this journey into Google Apps for Education. One of the things, before I'm going to give it over to Tanya, who's going to talk about SeeSaw, which is not really so much related to Google. But Tracy, we'll try and get you something, we'll try and do something a little more basic maybe coming up in another webinar. But I want to say, so one of the examples I gave, I want to give like 3 little things you could use in your classroom. One of the things I already did on Docs was just using talk and comment to hear why students wrote a paper, to maybe get more explanation on something. So you'll see that I brought in a short story. So I went to the internet, I found the short story, I brought it into a Google Doc, and that's how I would pass it out to my students rather than making copies for everyone, which is really important too, because you want to get away from making too many copies for the environment. But you could also do it on slides. So take, for example, we're on a Google slide right now. I could go into, and let's just say I had students put something in a Google slide and they had put a picture of something that I said, hey, what is a picture that defines maybe, and I'm sorry because some of you are Canadian, but no, I'll use your war, the War of 1812. Find a picture that defines that. And they put it into slides. So then they could come in here and go to insert, comment, oh, here it is. And they could do that same thing. They could, because look, this thing is still here in slides. That little, do you see it? The little invisible thing? I could say, I chose this picture of the War of 1812 because it really reflected the French and English. I hope it's what it is. Me, the old history teacher, doesn't know. But anyway, battles and whatever over our Canadian history. And then I can take that and I can put and tell my teacher why I chose to do this in the slides. Because I find that people who are using GAIF for the first time or Google Apps for Education often use slides a lot and don't get that important information from kids as to why they chose to put that there. So you can see there's a play button, and now I have taken something pretty normal and pretty 1985, I like to say, and I've added a really important component of hearing from them inside of that. There's also something called CommonLit. If you'll join me over at CommonLit, and just, I'm just going to, oops, Common's going to give me the wrapper, do like him. CommonLit is a place where you can go and get free fiction and nonfiction for students. Hopefully it's going to recognize my, let's see, yeah. And like, let's pretend that I go to the library and I had an assignment, but I think it's gone because I switched my email. But I can go into the content and I can pick this, let's say, and I can ask kids, they can leave little notes here and say, I just read the first paragraph. So after reading the first paragraph, I learned that this excerpt from Our America talked about blah, blah, blah. And I can take that, it gives me that link, and then I can throw that link into a Google form response, or I can email it to my teacher, or I can drop it in a chat. I can do many things to get that. I prefer having kids turn it in a Google Doc. I mean, in a form, but I could even make a doc where they all just put this link, and then I can hear their comprehension about that article. Because CommonLit does some really great stuff by having all of these questions. Let me see if I can get Okay, sorry. It doesn't want me to let me get out of here. Anyway, it does a lot of great things by having questions for kids, but it doesn't give you any place where they can articulate their learning. So you can layer on top of CommonLit this little invisible talk and comment button. It's whenever you download talk and comment, or you put it on your Chrome extensions, it lives in every website, no matter where I go. I can be at Facebook, and like if, watch, I'll go to Facebook right now. I don't know if I should be going to my personal Facebook, but whatever. It will, in a second, as soon as the page loads, it'll come up over here. So it's at every website. And it's actually, there it is. It's right there, so you see it. Sorry. Going on your personal Facebook's probably not the best plan. Anyway, I just want you to see it's everywhere. So no matter where you are on the web, that little invisible circle shows up so that you can record student thinking and learning. So now I'm going to go back into the back channel, and Tanya, you're going to have to tell me if and hi Lori, good to see you. You're too much of a learner. Tanya, are you doing most of your interaction on Twitter or in the YouTube part as I take over? Uh-oh, did we lose Tanya?
No, I was muted. And turn my camera back on. There we go. No, I've been doing it both. I've been managing going back and forth. It's so much fun. We have a great group of people that are really, really active on the back channel, and they have such fantastic, they have really fantastic questions and ideas. And a lot of the conversation has been in the back channel talking a bit about privacy and student data. And so I have to say I've been in Ontario this weekend. I was at the Peel EdTech Team Summit, and the conversation, obviously will come back, especially if you're from Canada, around data and privacy. And so definitely, the way that our board in Montreal got around that was that we were very honest about parent permission, and we got parents to sign off for any of the tools that we were using, specifically under 13. So, it really depends on what your data policies are, and I try not to get too bogged down by that. In the US, it's a little bit different, but, obviously different districts have different, Are
you there?
I still think it's good to learn.
Uh-oh, Tanya.
Sorry, yeah?
At least for me, you're breaking up a little bit, but keep going.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get people right now to log on to SeeSaw. If this is your first time, you're going to be joining in as a student, and I've created a class. I don't know if this is my first time doing it this way, so we're going to try something a little bit different today. But you're going to go into SeeSaw, and you're going to log in as a student with your email. So you'll use your Google account, and then there's a class code, which I've left here, that you're going to be actually joining SeeSaw and sort of playing around with me as I go through some of my favorite features. Because there's really no better way than the present moment to try something new while we're doing a webinar. Would you not agree, Holly?
Yeah.
So if you could just let me know, Holly, are people able to log on? Because I don't want to move the student login off from the screen so that people can see the number, the letters. So if you could just ask people in the chat to let me know if they're able to get on.
Okay, so I'm going to be watching. Let us know if you can get on. It probably will take a second to get there.
That's right, because I know that there's a delay from when people are actually also seeing the webinar and when it's broadcast on to YouTube. There's a few moments of a delay.
Moment while they're getting on a little bit about SeeSaw.
Sure. So I'll talk a little bit about SeeSaw and how I'm using it this year with my own students.
Well, let the people who are new, though, know exactly what is SeeSaw.
Absolutely. So SeeSaw is basically a digital portfolio application that allows students to curate and create all in one place. I call it the Swiss Army knife of apps, because it really does take what we used to do in 5 apps and put it all in one, and allows us to really manage student groups, our classes, student folders, student creation. It's kind of like, instead of having a journal that's paper, it's your paper, journal / portfolios, but all in a digital space that also allows students to make their thinking visible, add voice comments, be able to draw over their work in a very easy user interface. So I have pre-K students using it, and I use it all the way up until 12th grade at my school. So our entire student body is using it this year. So are people starting to be able to join on, that you've been able to see, Holly, on the back end?
I actually, yes, we have Laura and Vanessa in, and Martha and Kelly and Teresa. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Holly, if you could just do me a favor and just copy the student login into the chat so I can move to the next slide, that would be amazing. So I want to talk very quickly about the difference between digital literacy and digital fluency. And actually, Holly, I'm going to let you kind of delve into that, because I know that you had been doing tons of research for a blog post that you're writing right now, just before we kind of dive deeper into looking at digital portfolios.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was trying to get that link in, and then, okay, so I'll stop for a second, get the link in a second, or you can do it, Tanya.
Sure, I'll do it.
So I've been really thinking a lot about digital. I was actually listening to a podcast by Malcolm Gladwell, or it was either Malcolm Gladwell or the people who do Freakonomics, and they were talking about literacy, and I thought, and I had to almost stop and pull over. And literacy is about words and about knowing and being able to go to a book and read it, but it's fluency that teaches you how to really work with the words and understand them and communicate in them and understand meanings. And I was like, wait a second, we talk all the time about digital literacy, but I think it's really digital fluency that we're trying to get kids to be able to do. And digital fluency means you understand what you need to use in order to meet a certain need. And so while kids need to be literate about, there are these apps and these apps exist, that's literacy, knowing that those things are there. Fluency is knowing which ones to use and how to use them, and being able to use them quickly and effectively in a moment. So if you think about it in terms of being able to go to another country and be fluent, I might be sort of literate, tiny bit literate in French, but going over and actually having conversations and being fluent is a whole nother ballgame. So, so I'm thinking that, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just, that was perfect, because I wanted people to be able to kind of log on so that they can participate with me. And I think it's really important to really have that conversation between fluency and literacy, especially when we're also speaking about ourselves as fluent educators and understanding how to use the tools, and then teaching our students those fluencies in terms of how to use them effectively. So I think that's really important. As we're sort of getting going and looking at the idea of fluency, I want to talk a little bit about that from the perspective of using SeeSaw. And I'm gonna, right now you're coming in with me, and we're gonna look at 3 different really powerful ways of using SeeSaw in your classroom. And I'm actually going to I'm going to go on and I'm going to jump back and forth, but I have some challenges for you, and we're going to do them together. Just if it's your first time on SeeSaw, it's pretty straightforward to use, and I want to just sort of walk you through it very quickly. So right now on my end, I'm looking at it from the teacher's perspective, and the first thing that I can do as a teacher is I can either post to my student journal or I can send an announcement. So I'm going to go in because it allows you to see very quickly what it looks like. And I can go in and I can add a photo, I can add videos, drawings, files, notes, and links. So I'm gonna actually create a photo right now, and I'm on my laptop. So it looks like this. I'm gonna leave you guys a photo.
So someone is saying that the SeeSaw code expired. Is that possible?
That would be really strange. I'll double check that in a moment when I finish posting. Maybe, but I mean, it was for 7 days that it should have been good. So I'll double check that.
Vanessa is helping you out. Thanks, Vanessa.
No, that's great. No, that's good to know. I'll definitely double check that. Well, I'm going to share this with everybody. So I can, when I'm on SeeSaw, I can go underneath and I can leave a voice comment. I can draw over my my picture. I can leave a comment. I can record as I'm drawing, and I can add captions and labels. So I'm just gonna move it forward, and I'm gonna share it with you. But I wonder, has anyone been able to join the class? Because
they say they're in.
There they are. Perfect.
Is there any way you can share your screen? Are you
am I not sharing my screen?
No, you are. I was on mine, so sorry.
Okay, I just had a heart attack. I thought, am I not sharing my screen? So there is everybody there. And I already have someone who's also posted. So there's Yolanda. Yolanda was a kindergarten teacher at Lester B. Pearson. So hi, Yolanda. So I'm approving her comment. And there we go. And so now we're having some conversation. But on the back end right now, I would love for you guys to create a post with, and I'm going to call this layering. So this is one of my favorite things to do. So you have your students take a picture. And it could be a picture of a book that they're working on, or that they're going to to have a book talk. So right now I'm reading Jenny McGuira's Courageous Adventures. And I'm going to take a picture, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I am learning about the book. So before I do that, on the Chromebook, it's a little bit different. You actually have to draw first and then record. If you're using the iPad, you can do it differently. So I'm going to be talking about Courageous Adventures, and I'm going to mention a little bit about it. So when I go on, and obviously I'm doing a few things at once, so it gets a little mucky in my desktop, but it won't be as complicated for your students. And then I can talk. So you guys are going to do the same in a moment. So
we have one more person who said it's expired, by the way.
Oh no. Okay, well, I'll double check. Hi everybody. We're doing a webinar and talking about books. This is my favorite book right now that I'm reading, called Courageous Adventures. And it's a book by Jenny McGuira that I'm enjoying quite much. So there we go. I'm going to share that with everybody, and then I'll check the I'm just going to go like that. And so something I just want to talk about very quickly, and then I'm going to get the other people who are not able to get on that code again. But what I've just done as a teacher is I've created a video, and I can share it with whoever I want to. I can either go in independently and choose a student, or I can choose my entire class. And I want to actually, now that I kind of mentioned that I was reading Courageous Adventures, Jenny McGuira talks a lot about cloning the teacher. And so I thought, how fantastic would it be as an instructional tool to be able to create a video and essentially, I don't want to say flip your classroom, but really differentiate effectively for students who might really be having difficulty in a specific area, and send it to the students who really need our help now. So as an instructional tool, not just as a portfolio tool, you can also use this feature to share instruction that's differentiated for your students. So I think that's like an incredibly powerful way of using this post to your students tool. So I'm going to do that, and I ask you to take a moment And also, and we have some people that are doing it to post, and I'm gonna also go back in and get that that code right now. So, oh, there we go. So I'm approving them as they come in. And I'm gonna get those codes. These are great. I think this is also great for professional development. You can have a class of learning for your teachers. I just did that with mine at my school for professional development, and they're also going to be using this for their own professional portfolios. Let me get the student code. So it seems to be fine. It says that it's valid until October 1st. So LZCMEUXI. Is that the one, Holly, that's in there? Okay.
Sorry, I was having dog problems.
Oh, that's okay. Here's the student code again in case you haven't been able to get in.
Okay.
LZCMEUXI. And I can manage all of my approval. So right now, I'm gonna actually take out that, oops, cancel. I want you all to see your work, and I don't need to approve it. So that way everyone can just have access to their work immediately. So this is just some of the, some of my very favorite features, and that's the idea of layering. The other thing that I wanted to show you was that now you can actually share multiple pictures in one post, which I think is incredibly powerful. So if you're using a Chromebook or a or the web version of the app, you can do that by adding a file. And so either you would select the files from your computer, or you would select them from Google Drive. So in this case, I have some pictures here. So these are some pictures of my daughter. And so I'm opening them, and I'm able to share. And so you're able to share now up to 10 pictures at one given time in a post. And I think this is a great way to show a process unfold. So if your students are working on something and they're taking pictures along the way, you can have them then create very quickly up to 10 pictures of their process, of how their work unfolded over the period of time. So showing their process work. And it's incredibly powerful for students then to be able to articulate their growth over a period of time by being able to show all of the processes that they took to get to where, to get them through their learning. So this is another example of something that is new that you can do with SeeSaw. So a few ideas, just kind of getting started and to think about. There's one more that I really am very excited about. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with book snaps, but Tara Martin, she's really been pushing book snaps on Twitter. She's fantastic. And so basically it's just a way of having students talk about what they're reading to synthesize their ideas. It's really great for comprehension. So they take a picture, and it's really a lot of fun. So they, oops, there's mine. Not the most flattering picture right now. Let me retake it. So they take a picture, and maybe they open it up, and they'll take a picture of their book. This is not the most ideal way I'm doing it right now. And then they add a caption. And Tara talks a lot about doing this on Twitter with Snapchat, but in this case, this is a workaround, so you can use it in your class with SeeSaw. And so you can add a label, and we're talking about problem-based learning. Not just for students, and I have my students synthesize their ideas, and they can add emojis to that. If you're using a Chromebook, a workaround for emojis, I'll get that in a moment, because Holly, do you remember what the workaround for emojis is? There's a website that you can copy and paste.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, that's okay. Now. So they add emojis. If you're using an iPad, it's really straightforward. They add emojis from their keyboard. But I'll get that in a moment. But you can add emojis and you can draw over it. But this is a really great for kids to synthesize their ideas. And they can also use emojis to tell stories. So I love the idea of emoji stories. So in this case, I'm going to add it to everybody. So yeah, so just a few ideas of getting started with SeeSaw in your class. I also use it with my older students for reflections and for them to track process and their progress over their projects. So this is a really great and easy way. It's on their phone, and they can share all of their work really, 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 really easily. So,
Tanya.
Yeah.
We had a question. Are the products created in SeeSaw downloadable for use on other platforms? And we know they are, but have you done that or experienced that?
I have not yet, but just to sort of, just for the sake, since we're on here, we can I can show you how simple it is. So I'm on my image right now. I would go here, and I could download the item, and it's downloading that one because it's an image. I didn't draw over it. It just downloaded as a JPEG. So it was as simple as that.
We're reading Wonder in my class, and we're downloading stuff that we do in SeeSaw and putting it into Book Creator. And so, and that's how we're taking their journey over time from where we began to where we will end. And we're taking those little segments. Even the Flipgrids are going into their Book Creator.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea of being able to do that. And App Smash, there's also the copy and edit function. And I recently saw someone post on the SeeSaw Facebook group this idea of starting students with a line, and it's a really great little activity. So they start with one line, and then they have everybody they share that line with their entire class. And then the students go in and they take that one line and they go copy and edit. And so they're then able to go and add a story to, or some, add elements of their own creativity to that one line, and be able to, make that line their own and add as story elements. It's a really great exercise in creativity and, thinking about story and building on oral language and getting kids to kind of see how they can turn a simple line, kind of like the book The Dot, into a bigger story and see what comes off out of that. So I think that's a really also kind of really interesting tool. The copy and edit function is pretty powerful as well. Are there any other questions?
No, we're just getting a lot of people commenting on app smashing and liking to do that. So we do have a pretty range of learners or people who have been using stuff, because people are talking about app smashing, and then also, oh look, innovators mindset. This is good stuff. And also on just starting the journey. So it's really fun to have all of these different learners in here.
Well, I wanted to, and I'm almost done. I wanted to just show a few little tips that I thought might be really helpful. I mentioned, and I want to just mention again, the idea of differentiating by cloning the teacher. I think that's a really powerful way of using SeeSaw. And the last one that I wanted to show was just some little tips and tricks and some hacks that I saw and that I have gathered over time. And one is that a lot of teachers will use this kind of pop phone that you can buy on Amazon. They say just to be a little weary, because sometimes a little piece breaks off, and so you have to be very careful in how you're putting it in and out of the device that you're using. But that can be used as a microphone, so it's pretty handy for if you're working with students. The other one is they use the Maria stool from IKEA. I've seen this all the time. It's a $5 stool, and then they put the student work underneath and sort of holds. If you're using an iPad, it holds it really nicely. And the last one is, I've seen this, and I'm about to make a whole bunch of them for my teachers as well, but I would even make them with bigger audio foam. But they create little audio boxes for recording, so they become little recording studios. that you can put your students can put their Chromebooks or their laptops in, so that they have a more quiet space to do their recordings. So just a few little tips and tricks that I wanted to share.
I didn't understand the stool one, Tanya.
So they put their iPad on top, and the camera is through a little hole, and then their work goes underneath it, so it's sturdy. So if they're working on something, their work is in one place. Their work is underneath the stool.
Interesting.
Yeah. I saw it at a TIG Team Summit in New York, and they were the little fourth graders came in and they were showing how they used it. It was very cute.
So Lori's saying she loves those pop phones, that they're high demand in her school.
Oh, fantastic. That's good to know. Yeah. So, Holly, we're actually on our way to the end of our session this evening, and I'm going to just kind of share a few ways that you can get in touch with us.
I would love to hear if anyone, really quickly, we have some really great talent. I mean, when Lori comes to your thing, she's got a lot of really good ideas. And she was saying that I use locker shelves for iPad recording. Students put the work on the bottom and the iPad on top, which is a great idea. I didn't know that, like, I've had iPads for so long, I didn't know it was a problem, this recording of the work. But I wonder if anyone else has anything that they want to share
or any questions.
Yeah, we would love any questions. We'll get to the last part, which is to, join us on Facebook. We're going to be reaching out to the winner of the book. And some of you already have the book, so maybe you can give it to a friend if you're one of the winners. But there aren't any questions coming up yet, probably because we're a little bit delayed. So let's go back to those slides. Maybe I'll share my screen.
Sure, go ahead.
And let me get right to that. Application. Okay, so here are the slides. And so until we get some questions, we want to, let me go and find where we are. We want to encourage you to join the press Facebook group. We're going to really start making that a place where we have discussions and authors come on and do like a week-long takeover. Maybe the space authors, they are already going to do it, but they're going to come in and spend the whole week talking to you about redesigning what your classroom looks like, how to do that on a really good budget. We'll have people come in like Kevin Brookhauser talking about code for a week. So it's going to be a really fun Facebook group. So join, have your friends join, and we're looking forward to that. You can, of course, follow the two of us on Twitter. We have our handles there. Of course, always buy the book. But we also have some other webinars coming up. And after seeing the comment earlier, maybe we'll have a beginning webinar. Maybe have some people come in like Lori and help us out with that. Anyway, so we're going to have a Flipgrid webinar, which is being done by Flipgrid, but Tanya and I are going to be the people doing it, and we have some really great examples now that we've had some time in the classroom to share with you, both from high school and from the littles. And that'll be October 24th. We're going to be doing a portfolio webinar talking about curation, reflection, and how we can capture all of that in portfolios this year, and how you can do that easily. And we'll be doing that sometime in November, so just be watching. We'll also paste that in the Facebook group or talk about it there. And then we're gonna be starting to do a little collaboration project called the Learning Lab coming up, and we're going to be posting about that also in the Facebook group. And that's going to be a collaboration between HyperDocs, Dive into Inquiry, and Google Infused Classroom. So we're really excited. We haven't really announced what that is, but it's something really, really big, and it's not going to be something you have to travel to. So we're excited to be able to announce that coming up soon. And Tanya, do you have anything else?
Well, great. There was just a few questions, and then we'll kind of let you guys off. But there was one question that said, that asked, oh my gosh, the questions just flew in just now.
Help teachers these great ideas.
Yeah, no, this is so fantastic. Any pointers on having a coffee time to help out teachers integrate these great ideas?
Oh, and so you can answer that. There's another question after. Alice Keeler does a really good, like coffee EDU, and people meet for coffee and just sit over and and talk about really great ideas happening, and they do that in their cities, and it's really fun, and there's something like that. But you could also do that at your school, have like a come at 7:15 or whatever time your school starts, and we'll just talk for 15 minutes. We'll have some coffee. Like back when I was the tech coach, I probably would have offered to bring the coffee just to get the people to come have conversations with me.
I do. I just offer like very informal Tuesday after school. Totally not planned. Come with your questions, and I've done it. I've actually just done it once so far, but the year's just starting, and so that I'm trying to get that kind of culture going at my school. The other one was baby steps. What is a must for teachers who aren't tech savvy? I think Holly and I are both going to have to say using Flipgrid is probably. Yeah, the easiest way of getting teachers who are not super tech savvy getting really powerful results with technology. So
there's another question that says, will you do a webcast on Flipgrid? We always talk about Flipgrid. We felt like we talk about it too much is why we didn't talk about it in here, but also because October 24th. Follow Flipgrid on Twitter or go to their website, and they have them there, and you can sign up for them. And so that'll be on October 24th. But a great way to learn about Flipgrid is to follow the hashtag FlipGridFever, and people are posting on that all the time. And if you want to learn about SeeSaw, they have something called PD in your PJs. And if you look that up and you put in to Google search SeeSaw PD in your PJs, it'll come right up, and they have a table of different, like if you're middle school, they'll have the PD that you can watch for middle school teachers of science and stuff using SeeSaw. So there's a lot of great ways to learn about that. It's really hard to do it in a 1 hour where we're trying to do tips and tricks, but both of the two apps give really good PD.
So I think it's about that time that we start wrapping up. I think a lot of our participants probably have to get ready for school tomorrow. And these are such great questions. We'll continue to write some of the responses in the chat once we come off the webinar. But Holly, did you have anyone in particular that you had been following on Twitter and in the chat for our giveaway?
I don't. So maybe we have to go on and we'll just we'll send them an email. We have emails, and or we'll DM them on Twitter. I think that's the best because I haven't. I think that's the best.
Yes. So it's that I think I know who it's going to be. I'm going to talk with Holly. Whoever you are, have been very active and supportive and asking such great questions. So we will be reaching out to you in a moment. But thank you all so much for spending your evening here. I think we should come off of the, let's show our faces. For joining this evening and spending your Sunday with us. I can't tell you how honored we are for you to spend so much time, and people stayed on the entire time. So it's been really great, and I feel like we've interacted. So thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Okay, thanks.